can I just, on one of the earlier points there about the wording of the motion, whether it is or not, I think I've been kind of gentle on the technical wording of the motion in that technically the motion assumes that there is a God. You know, so you would have to prove that there is a God in order to technically, you know, win that motion. But I didn't think that was a productive way of approaching it. Equally, I don't think the word truly is what we should be hung up on in this discussion. I think that whatever the technical wording, the core of the discussion tonight is whether you require a God as you understand that God to exist, or you know, in order to be moral and to behave morally. And I've tried to frame my contributions so that it can apply to people who don't believe in gods and people who do believe in gods. And I'll again go back to the point that I touched on earlier on, which is going back as far as the Plato Euthyphro discussion, which is that even if you believe that there is a God, then you have to ask yourself, are good things good because that God arbitrarily decided that it was good? Or are good things good because that God identified something as being good based on other criteria? If you're accepting that God just decides what is good and makes good things good by decree, then anything could have been good if God had chosen to make, as I say, you know, random torture good. He could have chosen that, happened not to, but he could have. If, on the other hand, you say, no, he couldn't have done that because that's not good, then you're recognising that there are criteria for determining what is good and what is bad that exist independently of the decisions of a God. And that the role of a God, if it exists, is, in religious terms, is not to determine what is right and wrong, but to identify what is right and wrong based on something else independently of just an arbitrary decision. And therefore, there even by a religious perspective, there are independent criteria that you may find harder to identify without the guidance of your God, but that do exist independently of your God. Otherwise, your God is just an arbitrary lawmaker.
Okay, I'll take your question now.
So, I just wanted to turn the motion on its head a bit. So it says the House believes that one cannot be truly moral without God. So does anyone believe that one can be truly moral even with God? Just from your arguments, John, Dr. Murray, I think you were saying you find morality as, or you started saying morality was objective, and then you said certain aspects were relative. And so do you believe true morality is objective in the long run, and maybe we're not there yet, and that maybe we're going asymptotically closer and someday we will get to it, and that does come from God? And if that is the case, why didn't he just give us the true morality to begin with, or why are we feeling around in the dark all these years? So someday, will someone ever be able to be truly moral? And yeah, that's basically.
Well, I suppose one reason why you'll have development is because new issues will arise. For example, you know, in our modern day, we have things like cloning and so on that, you know, that weren't around a long time ago. So if new issues arise, obviously new thinking has to be done about those issues using the principles of morality that we are aware of up until then. So you can't really count that out. See, in a sense, I think what's happening here is, in my interpretation of it, is that sort of a reductive idea of God and morality coming from God operating for some of you here, which is the idea that morality is dictates from God. Now that's not really how Christians understand morality as such. We understand morality to be, in a sense, built into creation by the way God has created us. In other words, certain ways of acting, of behaving, are such that they are more conducive towards human fulfillment, towards human happiness, towards living together in society and so on, towards having a good will. Pardon?
Can you talk about true morality? We've already established that about morality.
Yeah, no, what I mean by true morality is that a person is in touch with what truly is for the good of human beings. So that's going to take in scientific knowledge as well as other kinds of knowledge as well. So in a way, you can have people who are acting in good faith and who are doing the best that they can with what they know, and in a sense they might say that they're sort of subjectively in the right, they're doing the best that they can. But what does it mean to be in good conscience? It means that we're trying to work out, to recognise, to realise what truly is right. So we're getting information from our parents, from our society, from our culture, from our religion and so on, in order to try and help us to do this. So I think people can be truly moral, but only, I suppose, if they are in possession of the facts. So for example, if somebody believes there's no God and there is, that person will be in error. If somebody believes that abortion is just getting rid of a bunch of cells and not a human being, that person will be in error and so on. So having the facts is part of it, you know, a very important part. I suppose also having the right attitude, having kind of I suppose, an openness to knowing what's true and loving what's good.
So you're acknowledging then, which you countered a minute ago, you just said that if there wasn't a God, that someone could be truly moral if they didn't believe in God. But if they don't believe in God and there is
No,
God,
you see, I think people are mixing up believing in God and God. The motion is not.
no, I think you
Without
just said
believing in
if
God,
someone
people
doesn't
can't
believe in
be
God,
truly
there is a God, and
Yeah,
they're
absolutely.
completely wrong, then they're not truly moral.
Yeah, see, the motion isn't about believing in God.
Sure, I get that, yeah.
Okay? So I dealt with it in terms of whether or not a God who exists, who is the creator, who is wise and good and loving, is needed for a universe that is purposeful and intelligible and coherent. And it is.